Now, my hope in telling you this, and walking through this as we're going to go through, is that your prayer life can be something that is tangible, practical, real, and honest. Because so often, I think there's different people in different camps, in different stages and phases and understanding of prayer. Many people are in this stage of prayer. When I say it's good to pray, you go, yeah, it is good to pray. I feel guilty because I don't really pray. And when I tell someone I'm going to pray for them, it sounds phony because I kind of don't. Or I don't even tell someone I'm going to pray for them because I'm not going to. Or prayer is weird. Or prayer is this thing I grew up thinking I should do, but I never wanted to. And I think what we've done is because we don't model what David has done here. We create distance between us and God when we pray. Because look at the very first line as we read. What David did here, he said, Lord, I've got all these enemies, and they're rising up against me, and they're saying of me that you will not deliver me. You're not with me anymore. They're saying I am no longer your anointed one. They're challenging my core identity of who I am as your child, as your king that you've put over your people. And he's just honest. Do you think God knows what's going on? Yeah. But David needs to say it. And another camp that people are in with prayer is when we go to pray, it's this religious exercise, and we say, well, because I know of the theology of what's going to happen, it wouldn't be theologically accurate for me to admit that I have anxiety, so I'm going to just say the right things and claim that Jesus is resurrected, so therefore I'm happy. And then we just theologize our anxiety and deny it. Don't give it expression. David didn't do that. He gave his anxiety clear expression when he says, how many will rise up against me? Many are saying of me, God will not deliver him. He clarified, he said, this is what the problem is. And then in verse 3 he says, but you, Lord, you're a shield about me, my glory, the one who lifts my head high. I call out to you, and he answers me from a holy mountain. Or I call out to the Lord, and he answers me from a holy mountain. He starts to say, okay, but I know who you are, God. This is my anxiety. I know I am reminding myself of who you are. God doesn't need to be reminded that he is the shield, that he is the glory. David needs to remind himself where his hope lies, where his identity is, where his strength is going to come from. Verse 5, I lie down and sleep. I wake again because the Lord sustains me. So after he reminds himself of who God is, in this way he's like putting his trust in the Lord. Now, granted, let me take a step back. I don't think that David took all of that anxiety he was feeling and in 8 sentences resolved his anxiety. This is clearly written to summarize a process that David went through, right? And so we can look at this Psalm 3 as this little tool that we have in our toolkit of prayer. Just like when Jesus taught in Matthew 6, when he said, pray then like this, and he said the Lord's Prayer, we have a method for us to pray, just like David did, to pray through anxiety. But he says in verse 5, I lie down to sleep. Sleep is the thing I can't do when I'm anxious. Sleep is the problem when I am anxious, because I lay in bed and I ruminate. And for David to say, I slept, is like, indicates that his first statement of like, you are the one, you're my shield to God, brought him comfort, brought him some peace. So by declaring who God is to you, brings you peace, and you're able to sleep. Sleep is the most vulnerable state a human can be in, right? When you sleep, like so if you're married and you sleep next to someone, you must really trust them. Because you're in the most vulnerable state a human could be in, right next to another human, right? So when David does this, when he says that I lie down to sleep, it's this act of faith and trust that says, I'm able to calm my anxiety because of what I've declared that you are my shield, and I'm able to sleep. And then he says, I will not fear. Remember, anytime David says, I will not fear, it's because he's in fear. It's the reason he says it. He's telling himself, right? No one ever told me that when I was growing up. No one ever told me that, hey, when you grow up, you're going to have to be your own parent. You're going to have to parent yourself. You're going to have to tell yourself to stop thinking this and to believe that and to actually clean your room and do your homework. And like you're going to have to parent yourself. So David is parenting himself. He says, I will not fear, though tens of thousands assail me on every side. Doesn't that sound a little snarky? Like, I won't fear even though there's tens of thousands of people coming at me. Like, it's almost saying it's very logical for me to fear. If there's tens of thousands of people coming after you, it's logical to fear, right? But he has to declare, I will not fear. And I don't know what hardship you might be facing or going through or have gone through, but it's exactly in the moments where it's logical to fear, where when you put your trust in God, the miracle comes and your anxiety and your fear is dissipated. Sometimes it's financial pressure. I don't see how I'm able to make it, but I trust in the Lord and I'm able to sleep. But David is laying this anxiety out, coaching himself, reminding himself, calling on the supernatural presence of God. And then he says, arise, Lord, deliver me, my God. Strike all my enemies on the jaw, break the teeth of the wicked. Now, the army veteran in me goes, yeah! Like, punch him in the jaw, kick him in the teeth. It's like an old cadence we used to sing when I was in the army, like something that just brings out the aggression. But that's not what David is saying here. References to the jaw is an idiomatic metaphor, and it would say, take away their ability to keep spreading these lies. Shut them up. Have victory over the lies. Because what is he concerned about? People are believing the lies. And then he says, destroy their teeth. Break the teeth of the wicked. That is another idiomatic metaphor that says, take away the power of their words. Take away its bite. So he's not actually advocating for physical violence of his son whom he loves. He's saying, take away the power of the thing coming against me. From the Lord comes deliverance. May your blessings be your people. So look at verses 1 and 2 as the beginning of the chiastic structure. Lord, how many are my foes? How many will rise up against me? Many are saying of me, God will not deliver them. And then in verse 8 is the end of the chiasm where it says, from the Lord comes deliverance. Right, so it comes back to deliverance. But what's right in the middle? I call out to the Lord and he answers me from his holy mountain. I lie down and sleep and wake again because the Lord sustains me. I call out to the Lord as my provider, just like the Lord's Prayer, where he says, give us this day our daily bread. He is our provider. He is the deliverer. Forgive us as we forgive those who sin against us. He is the deliverer. And our action is to claim our faith and trust in God to help us get through the anxiety.